To inspiring conversation.
Welcome back.
Yes. Grab a drink, settle in, join us. We're going to talk some more about psychic travel, right?
Yep.
And do our tarot cards. Cheers.
Boy, it's stormy out there.
Tis.
It is raining hard.
Can we start with psychic travel? Or do we have to wait?
Sure, we can start with whatever you want. You can start with psychic travel. I'll let you know if my
cards jump out to you?
Yeah.
So can you say the name again?
Kazmarov, I believe.
Kazmarov.
I think that's how it's pronounced. I mean, you're the one who watched the thing more recently than me, right?
Yeah, but I when I was looking it up, I had to type it in, so I remembered it as Kozyrev, because that's how you spell it. With a K.
Yeah, it's a Russian name.
So, I don't know how to say it. But, so I watched a video on it, and what I thought was really cool, or like exciting, was the audio files. Did you listen to this at all or see it?
Is it part of the Y-Files episode?
Yeah.
Then yeah, I saw it.
So there's audio of people that have experimented in the mirror.
Yeah.
And they all have very similar descriptions of what happens to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like in their brain, like that heavy feeling. Some of them said shakes, the fear that they were experiencing.
Yeah.
Which I thought was incredibly cool. Like
it's pretty wild.
Yes. And then it actually reminded me of that shop that we went to, that like creepy shop.
Which one?
It was in New Hope. And it had like, we went into that back room and they were like, there was like a sign like, be careful back here, like lots of energy. And we went and like...
Oh, I remember.
We left. Yeah. Like, at one point we were both like, can we go? Because we were feeling like gross.
Not liking this. Yeah, not liking this.
And I thought of that heavy feeling, which I've experienced at other times in weird spaces where I'm like, there's just this like, almost like this suffocating like...
Yeah, a discomfort, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, and I know there are scientific things that can give people that sort of feeling of like general unwell. I think it's electromagnetic fields, like certain electromagnetic fields or whatever can do that sometimes to some people, like just weird stuff like that. But there are like science-based things that can be found in the environment that do that. But I also wonder too, like, well, what else? You know.
Yeah, like what else can cause that we don't know
like,
yet?
I don't know that that's fully even fully understood. The fact that like we can show that there's a cause effect in some people with those things or whatever. I don't know if that's totally understood, like the mechanism of action or whatever, like how it's happening physiologically or biologically in that patient or whatever. But you know, yeah, even if we did. Well, why not other things? You know, like having that's like anything else in medicine, you can end up with that result. But there's lots of different ways you can skin a cat or whatever.
Is that an expression?
Yeah. Lots of different ways to skin a cat?
Who skins a cat? Like, where does that come from?
It used to be much more popular.
Like,
I don't know.
Oh my god.
No, there's more than one way to skin a cat, I think is the expression. I think it's...
Oh my god, English is so weird.
I don't think I know I like to...
The origin.
Look up, I like to look up the, like, where these things get...
Is it etymology? Is that what it's referred to?
Yep, I believe so.
Yes.
Of idioms and, you know, phrases, and that's one, though, that I don't think I know, so I might have to look that up.
Next chat will be about idioms and all of the ways Anna Marie misstates them.
Yeah. My favorite is when you create malaphorisms, I believe is the term.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, put two of them together.
What, didn't I just say one yesterday too? Like, and you were like, no. And it was like,
I don't remember.
oh, I can't remember.
You did.
There was one, and you were like, no, it's either this or this.
Yeah,
You
pick a lane, lady.
I think mine sound much better, and that we should incorporate them into the English language.
Hey, that's
and
the beauty
evolve
of
it.
Yeah, that's
right?
the beauty of language. It's a living thing.
Power of the people only shows up in our language. Unfortunately, nowhere else does it matter.
And it's young people who make the changes until they get to be 10 to 15 years older, and then they decry the changes to the language that the people who are the age they were when they were making changes to the language are.
I don't even mind, like, the young phrases that people say that I don't understand. I don't mind that they exist, but I can't say them.
No, I have a hard time saying a lot of them, too.
And I feel like some people try to.
It's weird, though, because some of them aren't really new.
Yeah,
too, and I have no problem with those because I'm like, oh, I've gotten so comfortable with that phrase or term or whatever over my however many years I've been using it on and off.
Yeah.
Like, seeing that one again? Yeah, okay.
And it might be weird for me, too, because they're like, my exposure to them is like middle school. So I'm like, I'm not saying that. Like, that's not really cool. A 12-year-old saying it. You know? Like, I'll wait until, you know, when a 22-year-old says it. Then I'm like, oh, okay, maybe that's cool.
It's working its way up the ladder.
I feel like usually it trickles down. And you know when, like, a 5-year-old says it, you're like, that is old.
That's so funny. It's the other way when you're younger. You're like, oh, me and my friends are using this term or that term. And then you see, like, okay, it's cool. Some 20-something people are using it. Then it'd be like, all right, now there's like people in their 30s using this term. Is it still cool to even use for us anymore? Yeah. And then once you hear your parents use it, you're like, it's dead for good now. Forever. I'm never saying that.
But I feel like it reaches like 5-year-olds and like parents' age at the same time. And that's how it becomes uncool. And then, like, 5-year-olds, like, they repeat stuff. Like, they wear it out. Like,
no, that's absolutely true.
And so that's
how did we get off on the evolution of language?
I don't know.
You were telling me.
You were skinning cats.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, so then the other thing I was thinking about with this mirror is a lot of the experiences, there were observers.
Yeah.
And I kind of was chuckling to myself this morning when I was listening to this, thinking about like, oh, because I believe these recordings were with the CIA's experiments, and they were not Russian, and they were not in Russian. They were in English, in American English. And the CIA has done experiments and has logged it. But I'm not.
There's no saying that what you heard is actual recordings.
No, this is true.
This is true. Either, right? Like it could be an actor just reading from a script.
This is true. The great point. So that may be wrong.
And that's why I was like, I gotta look more into it to see like how legitimate some of these claims are, because there are some pretty wild, fantastical claims. So
I pulled up the CIA report that I plan on reading through. To be honest,
look at that.
It's a big PDF, but I want to read it.
Yeah, I've read them before. Some.
You're right, like an abstract and
documents and court
jargon
filings and like
repetitive
I tore through
writing.
some stuff.
But okay, so let's just say, assuming that the audio clips that I heard were Americans, because this is what made me laugh. I was laughing thinking of like, oh, stupid Americans, like time traveling, and even the aliens are like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? Leave. Please go. And we're like popping in like, hey guys, I love your vibes. And they're like, get lost. Like,
you have no idea how damaging it is for you to just simply be in this space, and you're like, hey, no big deal, just passing through again. It's like, you're gonna fuck this place up like you fucked up your whole planet. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Go away.
That was exactly what I was thinking. Like, oh my God. Like, and like, just imagining like the energy of these like, American enthusiasts. Like, oh, I showed up to this time travel. And I was like, what's up, guys?
Yes, I was out on the ethereal plane.
And they're like, can you please leave? Like,
no, that was sort of the impression that I got.
Right?
Yeah, that people were like, no.
Yeah.
Like we were saying with language, humans have shown up, this place is not cool anymore.
Right. So then and I was then thinking about how often that may occur, thinking of like meditation or spells or I don't know, other ways that people maybe transport themselves mentally. And if we do that at times where we are actually touching into, I don't know, another plane of existence and being observed, and the reason they're not making contact, and you've said this like with us on Earth, but even in these states, is because they're like, please go.
Yeah.
You guys are destroying your planet.
Yeah.
Destroying each other. Leave. Like, we do not want you to know about us. We don't want to interact with you. Like,
right. There's a reason that we
have cut all contact with these toxic species, essentially.
Right.
Right?
We're quarantined.
Yes, we are quarantined.
The cosmic quarantine.
Oh my god, we're cosmically quarantined.
I mean, that's a theory. And, like,
is that a saying?
You know,
expression?
It's one of the theories that we're like the term cosmic zoo has been used.
Yeah.
It's like just watch what these animals will do to themselves if you just let them to their own devices, type of thing. Like, but also it's dangerous, so don't mess with them.
There was that episode of
they will kill themselves, all of themselves. Like, one of them can decide. You know,
yeah.
That's not smart to play with that.
That space show that we watched.
The Orville?
Yes. Do you remember that episode where they were like all put in like a zoo?
Yeah.
And like...
Oh, yeah, that's been done
it was
before.
literally a zoo, essentially.
Yeah.
It was just like alien creatures or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was a really good like way of displaying that idea. I mean, you're right. It's been done. Yeah. It's been done in literature as well.
Yeah, lots of different sci-fis.
Mm-hmm. But that I really liked the way they represented that because it was like unsettling.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, and like, we were encouraged at the end of the Wi-Fi files.
Yeah, the
episode to build our own mirror.
Yeah, no, I know. He said that's why I was like, well, all right, I'll look at it.
Oh my god, and then,
handy.
Yeah. The other piece was that people in the local town, after this was created, were also noticing weird phenomena in the sky. It wasn't just participants, though they were seeing things in the tubing, but like people in the town were like heading to work and they're like, well, there's weird red lights. Like there were documented. Right.
I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
Like documented,
phenomenon.
Citizens that were saying there's reports weird stuff happening.
Right. Like what the heck is that?
Like UFOs, I guess, right? Because
there was that. Yeah, and that I've heard. More than once before, like, theorized that UFOs are like human consciousness. Have you ever heard that?
No.
Posited? Yeah. It's kind of interesting, right? It's what we are without our bodies. So when you're doing this sort of astral projection or whatever, like remote viewing stuff, some people think that what those things are like people. They're just not in their bodies. They're existing in this space without their corporal form. And that's why they're able to do things that seem to break the laws of physics. Because it's like, well, you're not a physical thing. And if this is a simulation, it's like they're in the code. So like they don't need to play by the same rules as the program because the code writes the rules for the program. So if you're in the code, you write the rules. You can kind of do what you want. You know what I mean? So.
Oh, that's so weird.
It's a weird concept.
It's so weird to think about.
But if that's a thing, like, there'd be a lot more of that, I would think. Because there's people that do that stuff, that try and do that stuff. Maybe it's just exceedingly difficult or requires some weird combination of, like, drugs that only really governments can get their hands on and have figured out like the specific formula of like, all right, you need this much ketamine because the person's got to be conscious but just on that line, like
on the cusp of
then
sanity.
They have to be somebody who's like predisposed to being very good at hypnosis, like being hypnotized or meditation, and then develop that skill. And then you have to create the perfect environment for that person to get into that space. Like, who knows? Like, it could be like a long list of things that's like, well, that's why you're not seeing it all over the place, even though a bunch of people say, like, oh, I try to do that, or I've done that in my dreams. It's like, yeah, no, most of that's just dreaming. Who knows?
Interesting.
Could be.
That is so weird. I never heard that before. I did like the reports for the mirror after they got through and they were traveling. A lot of it I felt like I could relate to in that way as well. The weightlessness and
the like perspective.
Yes, the
like tunnel vision type of.
Correct. And then being able to pick things almost is how they like phrased it in a way, and like I felt like, ooh, I've experienced this.
Yeah, this sort of feels familiar. Sounds familiar.
Yeah, I was like, I know exactly what they're talking about with this. So that made me really interested, where I was like, oh my gosh. And then I was thinking about how we would do this and talk about it and like build one, and the CIA would show up at our house and be like, you need to cut this out fast. Like, we've mentioned the name in the mirror so many times. It's like, it's a problem now. The United States government needs you to stop.
I pulled the Hierophant.
Oh, I think you pulled this before.
I think so too.
I'll hold it for you.
Because I remember the heavy Catholic iconography.
Yeah. Or maybe I did. Because I'm not sure that I remember these two, like...
Spiritual knowledge. Tradition. Priest. The Hierophant stands as the masculine counterpart to the High Priestess. His ornate robes show him to be a spiritual leader. He holds the pastoral staff with one hand while giving a blessing in the other. The trinity of the three worlds, often represented as mind, body, and spirit, is shown in his mitre as well as the staff. The keys are offered to those who seek the doorway between the realm of the conscious and the subconscious mind. Kneeling are two people waiting to be blessed with the knowledge he holds.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a cool card.
Yeah. Do you feel that it speaks to you?
Yeah.
Are you waiting for knowledge? Or are you the one with the knowledge?
Both. Right? I think if you're smart, you're both. You're never not trying to learn more because you know how much there is to know and to learn, and so you're like always hungry for that, like, oh, like that next piece. Like I sometimes talk about, sort of jokingly, like that, like, oh, I'm gonna learn some new thing, and like things are gonna fall into place for me. Like my worldview is gonna be complete, and I'm gonna be like, I understand. Like I'm gonna have some great epiphany or whatever. But like that's what I mean. Like I am hungry for it. Where I'm like, no, I still want to learn and understand, and you know, like. But I also, of course, have been doing that for decades now. So like, yeah, I have stuff to teach people too. Like, and I think everybody is both. And it's, you know, that's the only way to live, man.
So what if you will never understand? Is that a possibility for you?
Of course, yeah,
like, is
no,
that
that's
an
the
option?
most likely possibility. Is that there's the potential
but
that there is passing, there is no, like, what do you mean?
Like, let's, like,
when I come across something I can't fully understand?
Like, in this spirit realm or whatever, like, I feel like the idea is so often that, like, when you pass, if you don't know it now, like, you'll know it then. Like, you'll get the answers. But what if you won't? What if, like, it could be so many different things, but you'll never actually know?
No, that's fine. Yeah, no. I mean, like, right, there's different ways that could happen where, like, you aren't even aware that, like, you were a person, right?
Yeah, because you come back as a leaf.
Well, not even that. Like, the act of dying, right, and not existing in this, even if the same me, like, the same life force, or whatever you want to call it, soul, spirit, right, exists in some other way somewhere else, there's no guarantee that, like, I will have a memory of existing, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know what these rules are and how this stuff works, so, like, yeah, sure, there's the possibility that I don't get answers, nothing makes any more sense, and it's just black, or it's on the next thing, or I don't have any remembering of anything from what I consider physical reality now. Like, could be. That's fine, I guess. I just...
Can you accept that?
I mean, if I have to, I have to. That's the way it is.
Well...
I mean, you know...
But can you?
Yeah, sure. I don't necessarily need that. I just would very much like to understand. maybe that's the point. Maybe everybody's different perspectives are
Oh, thank you.
getting, thanks for the follow, like coalesced at the end. Right? So everybody is like from one big consciousness or a big thing. I'm agnostic. I call it like the big what is. I think there's maybe something that does exist outside of this space or whatever that it like just is. It's just a thing that is. It just has been and will be. And like it doesn't need to be a person or a, like I don't want to put anything else on it, because even that feels like I'm taking a step that's like I'm stepping into stuff that's serious that I don't really have any business making determinations on, right? Like passing judgments or making like that kind of call. So like, but I'm comfortable saying that I think I believe that much, that there is something, and that thing could just be like all of our collective life force. That's where everyone comes from and goes to, and maybe that's where we're putting information together and saying like we're building a body of knowledge for some reason that is just totally not something we could comprehend as individual people, right?
Yeah.
Because it's some cosmic mystery,
just a piece of it
or whatever. Like, how cool would that be? Like, part of a
mystery.
Yeah, well, every human on Earth is in like a fact-finding mission to try and better understand the universe.
But what if other creatures are as well, but we just have no way of knowing that they also are?
Oh, I mean, it's so big that what really trips me out sometimes is like there's places in the universe that are so far away, and the universe is expanding at such a rate that like even if you could strap someone into something that could travel at the speed of light and keep them alive forever, they still would never reach that place. Because it's that far away and things are traveling and accelerating that quickly that it's just like we know those places exist, but we'll like never be able to ever do anything, not even like transfer information or anything. Like they might as well not exist for our intent and purpose.
Like knowing they exist does nothing for us.
It's kind of useless. Yeah, it's weird, right? Yeah,
it is so weird.
I'm sorry. Feel free to ask anything.
Yeah, please do. Thank you for joining us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna bother paying attention to that because I have like obstructed view.
Yeah, no, I'll keep a better eye on the chat. But yeah, just jump in whenever.
I'm gonna work on
Yeah, pulling a card.
Yes. Get in the flow. Sorry.
No, take your time. There's no rush. I don't have anywhere to be. Yeah, I mean, could be anything. Could be anything. Yeah. Yeah, we've only been doing it for a couple weeks now. Six weeks, 8 weeks, maybe. I think we've been streaming. Do you know how long it's been?
Yeah, maybe closer to 6. This might be our 5th week, to be honest. I feel like we did it all of December.
So I think you're referring to like the display. I'm not familiar with the logo banner and the panels. It could have to do with like we don't even use Streamlabs or anything. Like we're still just using the
just plain old Twitch.
Yeah, Twitch Studio. We're streaming directly from that.
I mean, we plan to use Streamlabs. We're just kind of slowly getting in a routine.
You're saying it might help to help us grow?
Yeah, I'm sure. Thank you for that.
No, that makes sense.
Most likely. And maybe that'll light a fire under our behinds.
Yeah, something to look at. Half of this, at least, is just genuinely because we like to sit and talk and have these sorts of conversations. So, like, we're kind of slow rolling it out to other people. Like, we're more than happy to have people join our conversation and bring things up to talk about and show us perspectives we haven't considered and all that good stuff. But we genuinely just enjoy talking and doing stuff. So we are kind of slow, but thank you, because that's a good idea. What'd you get? You pull a card?
The moon.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
She's a hottie. All right, so this is a major card.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of power in this one. Get ready.
A little scary toward the bottom there, huh?
Well, I think the moon is supposed to, like, the phases of the moon represent, like the
light and
phases
dark.
of... Yeah, but also it's usually associated with, like, the mother, maiden, and crone. For lack of better descriptions for women. It's pretty horrific.
I wonder...
Sorry, I'm just trying to find it.
Oh, no problem. I got lost in a thought just about, I can't remember now what I was, something not important, I think.
All right, the moon. The two interlocking circles correspond with the two cycles of the moon, the waxing and waning cycles. The moon was a lunar goddess to the Celts and the Druids. Lady of the Silver Wheel, a lady of mystery and magic who stands at both ends of the silver cord of life. Life and death to the Celts was an endless cycle of birth. Death was not a final step, merely a transitional journey. The young goddess, surrounded by the vibrant colors of life, is holding the symbols of the full moon and the new moon, representing the two phases over which she presides, fertility and birth. The old goddess is partially veiled, and the ghostly hounds caught up in a wild chase form a circle around her as they blindly pursue their quarry. The two candles are beginning to flicker as life dims. It is a time which creates fear and dread in most mortals. But the goddess symbolizes the indestructible forces of nature. She covers her face with one arm to hide her vast age and evokes the lunar energies to return her youth. The two goddesses are but two phases or faces of the lunar goddess. The triple aspect is more complex, an extension of the dual aspect shown in the card. The young goddess is really two, maiden and mother. The old goddess is the matron or hag. Her cycle is the most mysterious as she presides over the gateway of the underworld which leads to death. It was also a path linked with initiation, a ritual practice by the Druids. As part of their training, they crawled into the ancient burial chambers or barrows to meditate and meet death face to face. The specter of the hag was the silent witness, for she speaks not to man. Her presence was a confirmation of the initiation. So this card is associated with Pisces. The moon, symbolized by the two fishes swimming in opposite corners at the base. Sorry, I'm just trying to look at it as well and be like, oh yeah. Pisces is a dual sign. Oh, okay, I see it.
Yeah.
Known as the ash tree, associated with the Celtic triple goddess and the sea, over which she also presides. The virtues of the tree were also dual, a sign of life and death. Ash roots were known to strangle those of other forest trees, but the wood was also carved into talismans as a protection against drowning. So cool. So the dual aspect of the moon is symbolic of the highest and lowest elements of nature. The card deals with human strengths and weaknesses, also the sexuality of the querent. It promotes an imagination of the highest order in the arts, associated with all the base and lower aspects of character. The darker aspect of the moon is an immoral force.
Yeah, one sec.
Oblivious to all accepted standards of behavior. So it can show danger and deception. Hidden enemies or false friends pose a threat. The intuitive nature is more apparent. Uncanny or strange dreams occur. A sense of deja vu exists. I had weird dreams last night. Fateful meetings of a sexual nature also occur, and odd experiences generally.
Curious.
It's an elusive force, both physically and spiritually. Okay, cool.
So I'm curious to see what you have to make. They're asking if they can make something for us. I think maybe having to do with the banner and side panels. But no promises on if we'll use it or not. I actually have a degree in graphic design and some experience with that stuff. So, I put the logo together. We're going to put a little thing about just some of what I was thinking when I did that. But I love art and talking about it. And if you want to make something and talk about it,
Yeah.
bring it next week. We'll
Always
be here
down.
Monday, Tuesday, same time. We're pretty regular.
Same place.
Yep.
Sounds good. Yeah, so the moon. That was a heavy card.
Yeah, that is a pretty heavy card, man. It's a pretty heavy card. How you feeling about it? Like you got walloped? Or does it feel like, oh, that makes sense?
Yeah, no, I feel like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I like when I get some of these cards because I'm like, yes, I know.
Right.
I'm a baddie.
Right on.
But I actually had incredibly weird dreams last night that were very real and like unsettling, but I couldn't remember them. And I was like all morning as I was getting ready for work, like was thinking about it, and I was like, I feel like I want to ask Jay, but also I don't remember to even like have a conversation. But it felt very like
felt important.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I kept being like, God, I wish I could remember those dreams. Like I feel like I'm supposed to remember something about them, but I just wasn't. So maybe I'll have them again.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe you don't need to remember them consciously, and like that they impacted you in a subconscious way. That like you've been touched by them, and that's all that needed to happen, and that's true. You can just rest easy that you had the dream, and you know now what even if you don't know you know it. So like you're good, and you can go on, feel a little better about it. I try to think of it that way because I get frustrated, like very frustrated sometimes when I have a dream that I feel like, oh, that was important, and I can't remember what it was, and like it can ruin whole days for me.
Right? So interesting though, like fateful meetings of a sexual nature also occur, and odd experiences generally. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like a weird sentence.
Yeah. You could almost say that having to read that sentence as part of like your own forecast is an odd experience. Generally. It's a generally odd experience.
And also just weird, like, fateful meetings of a sexual nature. Like,
yeah, I don't know about that.
What does that mean? I'm just trying to imagine what it means, like, outside of, like, obviously you and I, but, like, if anybody had this, like even if you were single.
Are you planning on having fateful meetings with sexual nature outside of you and I?
No, I meant, like, if, like, someone who was, like single and, like, out looking, like, and someone told them, like, this week you will have fateful meetings of a sexual nature. Like, what the fuck does that mean? I would leave there and be like, what?
A lot of different things, but, like, I would think probably for a single person they would assume that it means, like, oh, I might, like, meet somebody and have some kind of physical interaction with them, and, like, maybe that's the person I'm going to fall in love with, or I'm going to marry, or is going to impact my life in some significant way. Right.
I guess I was looking at as like the sexual aspect
fateful?
Was fateful, and that then it wasn't a relationship. And I was like, what is that?
It sort of is, right? If you're talking about the person entering your life, and then that person being like a catalyst for like some major change or a big thing or whatever, then that meeting, like that what you thought was a one night stand or just a silly dance you were doing with a stranger, turned into a relationship that turned into this thing that happened, or you getting that job, or meeting the person you're going to marry. You know what I mean? Like, and so
interesting.
That was a fateful meeting, so of a sexual nature, or whatever it said. I don't remember.
Fateful meeting of a sexual nature.
Yeah.
Maybe someone's going to throw themselves at me.
Maybe.
And then it's going to be odd, whatever the rest of that was, where it was like odd.
Odd experiences generally.
It's going to be like very odd and uncomfortable.
Odd experiences generally.
Yeah. Like,
just expect generally odd experiences.
Well, and the fact that word "and" was used in conjunction, like we are connecting these two types of events.
I know. It did seem like there was a connection there that I'm like, I don't understand why you're trying to.
I'm just imagining someone like ripping off their clothes and throwing themselves at me, like at the elementary school, and I'm like, this is very bizarre.
Literally a crime. Is what this is. This is literally a crime.
I'm just gonna quote this. This is fateful, but also odd. Yes. Generally.
Yeah. Also a generally odd experience. All right.
So weird.
I think I'm ready to call it for the day.
Yeah, I agree. thank you for joining us. We hope we can chat it up with you again next week.
Yeah. If you make some stuff, Hazelieva, come on back. Show it off. We'll check it out.
We'd love to see what you've got.
Have a good night.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.